Anxiety and depression, behavioral stuff. A while ago, it was looked down upon. It was put under the rug. It was shoved around the corner, whatever you want to say that it was. But it was something that we did not talk about. We did not share about. And X amount of years ago in the 2000s, it came to light and more into the forefront of the world that we live in, became more of a normalized thing, became something that was more okay to have. Now it's okay to have. But when I was diagnosed with anxiety, it was probably in the middle there. It didn't have to be swept under the rug, but in my more rural community, we not in a major metropolitan area. It was something still that was probably in the middle, where it was maybe embarrassing or this or that, but we've moved past all of that, and now it's something that's more normalized, something that is okay to have and okay to share about. And so I have anxiety and I get anxious, I get depressed, whatever word you want to tack onto it. And I take medication for that. I get overwhelmed when I get super busy, or life events or whatever, and I have to deal with that. And this week, a little bit of last week, I've been really overwhelmed, and I have had to deal with that and try to cope with that, overwhelming feeling that's not necessarily on the outside of me, but internally feeling from things that are on the outside, whether that's busyness or distractions or just crazy workloads and whatever it may be. But I've been super overwhelmed. And today I kind of realized that I get overwhelmed at certain points in my life, and at certain points I've dealt with it better than other times. And this week has been one of those times where I have not dealt with it as good. And that thing that I have not done is dealt with it with the Lord. And so that is something where I could look back at other times that I've been super overwhelmed and say, okay, the time that I dealt with it better was when I dealt with it with the Lord, when I had Him alongside me right there with it and during it, when I wasn't overlooking Him. He's always next to me, but I might not be actively calling on Him and relying on Him in some situations versus others. And so I realized today that this week has been one of those times where I have not actively been seeking His help in this time that I have been overwhelmed. And so I've been overwhelmed. I've been overlooking God and the aid that He can give me and the weight that I can take off of me and put onto Him that He wants me to do. And so I know that that's not just the case for me, but sometimes it's the case for you too. Or somebody that it's the case that they get overwhelmed, they get anxious, they get depressed, whatever word fits the situation. And leaning on God and not overlooking Him is probably something that could drastically affect the outcome of that situation or that time or whatever that looks like. And so when I kind of realized that today, I also had another thought that was a really horrible thought. Everybody has intrusive thoughts, and that means something that you didn't really actively want to think up, and it just kind of popped in, and maybe you act on it, maybe you don't. But I had one today, and our brains think so much faster than our words can come out of our mouth. And so it was like an instantaneous thought. And then right after it, just as quick, I was like, whoa, 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 that's not what I wanted to think. But what I kind of thought of was, oh, wow, I'm really overwhelmed this week. And I have not been leaning on the Lord like I could and should be. And so maybe when I know that I have a week that's going to be a little bit more laid back, I can lean into him more and put a little bit in the jar more, so then I have the weeks that I'm really overwhelmed and I can just kind of coast through them and not have to put the time in with him and not build my relationship with him. And just as fast as I thought that, I was like, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. That's not how it works. It's not a bucket that I'm just putting coins in, saving for a rainy day, my relationship with the Lord or your relationship with the Lord. It is something that is constant and every day and should be all the time. It is not a transactional relationship. It's not a business relationship. It's a relationship, a intimate relationship, not a business transaction. It's not a I put this in, you give me this out. There's no you provide this, this, and this, and I'll do this, this, and this. It's an intimate relationship with somebody that you want to be in a relationship with, that you want to put in the time to be close to. He wants us. If you saw the last video, so Mary and Martha, Mary sat at Jesus' feet. He wants us to sit at his feet. He wants us to seek him, right? He wants us to want to be near him and seek him. And so John 15:4 and 5 says, "Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing." So apart from him, I can do nothing. Apart from him, I'm not going to figure this out on my own. It's not going to resolve itself on its own. And so abide in him and he'll abide in us. Abide in the Bible means to remain or to stay. And so our relationship with God is not a put this in, get this out. It's a, hey, I want to have a relationship with you. I want to stay near you. I want to remain by you. I want to stay in communication with you. We've got to seek to abide in the Lord, to be close to him. I love him. You may love him. We have to want to love him. We have to want to build that relationship up and go deeper, not for the benefits that, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get this in return. You may do this, this, and this, and whatever, and he may respond and have a return that you can see and that you can grasp, and you say, wow, Lord, thank you for showing me this thing. But that's not the main way that our relationship works. It's not a transaction, it's a relationship. Who would we be if we built our relationships on the benefits? I'm only friends with this person because they get me this. I'm only married to this person because of X, Y, and Z. The Lord is not to be treated as a transactional, as a bank or an ATM. We need to have a relationship with him, and we need to seek him and want to seek him. And if you don't want to seek him, then you maybe need to take an internal inventory of why you think these things or do these things, and say, am I going about this the right way? Do I want the Lord, or do I want the things that he can get me? John 15:4 and 5 again. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself, we can't bear fruit by ourselves unless we abide in him. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. I oftentimes get overwhelmed and I overlook God. I overlook the weight that I can say, Lord, take this off of me and put it on you, because I am too weak to handle it right now. In October, I was pretty overwhelmed and doing a big event and stuff, and I wrote this on a sticky note and I lived on it for a week there. It says, God gives me more than I can handle so he can show up with his awesome power. I said, Lord, show up. And sometimes all I could say, all I could pray, all I could think was, Lord, show up. God, please move. Please do something. Lord, show up. Sometimes all we can mutter out is a few words, and that's fine. When we're overwhelmed, when we're anxious, when we're depressed, sometimes all we can get out is a couple things, but that's fine because God hears that. If we're in a relationship with Him, sometimes all we need to do is just say, Lord, show up. Another thing that I was kind of living on then too was Matthew 11, 28 to 30. It says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. All we have to do is give those things in our world that are overwhelming us, that are too much for us to handle. All we have to do is give that to Him. Say, Lord, take this off of my plate, take it off of my shoulders, take it from me, God. I am too weak, too scared, too fragile to handle all of this right now. And I need you to intervene on my behalf, come into my situation and move. What if, when we're overwhelmed, instead of overlooking God, we looked to Him? What if instead of being anxious and depressed, or when we are anxious and depressed, instead of overlooking Him, we looked to Him? What if we looked to Him always?